3 years ago, I bought this Classic Vibe Jaguar as a Christmas present to my then 3-year-old daughter. And on Christmas morning, she had a huge smile on her face when she saw it because it was pink, which is still her favorite color to this day. And she knew that Papa liked guitars like this. It's what she grew up watching me play. Problem became it was way too big on her then, and even to this day she's not the biggest kid, so we found other guitars for her to sit and learn with. But over the course of the years, I've been modifying this guitar. As you can see, it's nothing almost like it was from the factory. As a matter of fact, the only thing that remains is the body itself. I'm going to be going over the finished article, so to speak, and then talking to you about whether or not I feel like this was worth it and giving you some advice that I've learned along the way during this process. The original owner of this guitar had installed a set of EP Customs pickups while leaving the rest of the electrical components as they were from the factory. Same thing goes for the hardware. All of that has been changed by myself. Starting off with the hardware, we do have a Fender Japan vibrato unit. Before I put this neck on it, every other version of this guitar that I've had, it's had the American vintage spec. And the reason why I went back to the Japanese one is because I've been playing the JV Jazzmaster so much, as well as my Sonic Blue Japanese Jaguar, and it just feels really right. And it might not have as much range as the American unit, but I enjoy the way that it feels all the same. The bridge is the vintage spec bridge. Some people will think I am nuts for not going with a Mustang bridge, a Stay Trend bridge, or even a Mastery bridge. I have all of those available to me, but if you set these guitars up right, the vintage bridge works just fine, and it really does add to some of the extra character and kind of ghost notes and harmonics that come from playing one of these guitars. All of the electrical components have been upgraded to US spec, and the pickups in this guitar are Lindy Fralin's with a 10% overwound in the bridge. But the star of the show today is the neck itself. As I stated earlier, this is from an American original 60s Jaguar. I used a .5 StewMax shim, and honestly, if I had had a .75 available to me, I think it would have been an absolute perfect fit. However, for now, it works really well. The neck on this feels great. It's .83 at the first fret, and it beefs up to full 1 at the 12th fret. So it's really, really up my alley and reminds me of my favorite Jaguar in the room, and that is that one, the Momose, which we'll be talking about a little bit later in today's video. So let's hear how it sounds now. To my ears, the guitar sounds great, but more importantly, it feels great because in my left hand, it feels just like home. I love this neck profile. It is just right up my alley, and I truly believe that no matter what your preferences are, the neck is the most important piece of an instrument because it's what you're going to be interacting with the most, and finding the right shape, radius, and profile that fits your hand is really vital to making sure that you have a guitar that you enjoy playing and you want to continue to pick up and keep going on with. When you're building a parts caster, it's a little bit more difficult compared to trying out guitars that are fully assembled in the store, but try to find a guitar that you already kind of like the shape of, and if you're not aware of the radius, the depth of the neck, as far as the thickness of the 1st and the 12th, or any other kind of features that you like about it, look them up, and when you are building your own, make sure to try and stay within those lines if you want a similar feel. Earlier in this video, I mentioned I was going to talk about some of the things I've learned modifying this guitar over the last 3 years. The first is, if you want to put on an American spec neck, as you can see, it will fit in with no problems. They actually cut the neck pocket to the correct spec, so kudos to that, which is not always the case with all Squier guitars. Next, as far as fitment goes, finding a pickguard that fits and is not going to have major gaps on this guitar is not as easy as other models. There are not many places that make aftermarket ones that will fit, and I would advise you to not purchase one off of Amazon. I have tried several. Yes, they are cheap, but spend the right money once. Get one custom made with the exact right dimensions from a place like WD Music, and you'll be a lot happier in the long run. If you do choose to upgrade the pickups on one of these guitars, I would say go all the way with it and replace all of the other electrical components while you're in there. It's a fun experience, and I know it can seem intimidating because there are a lot of switches and a lot of different connections you have to keep in mind, but it will improve a lot of the sound, and it's worthwhile. You're already replacing one piece, why not just rip it all out and go from there? You don't have to replace these control plates either. You could use a reamer and just modify the original control plate, and you wouldn't have to worry about fitting an American spec plate and save yourself a few bucks for that. The bridge and the vibrato system, some people work around the original vibrato that came on this and they're satisfied with it. Me personally, I love having the locking feature. It's just something that gives me a peace of mind in case I do break a string, but the other one was serviceable as was. And the bridge itself, this is all down to preference. You're going to hear some people swear by mastery, some people swear by stage trem, or the rare oddity who will say the vintage bridge or a Mustang bridge will be just fine. Try things out, experiment for yourself, and see what feels and sounds right to you. Now, unfortunately, I don't have an Excel spreadsheet to go over the cost of all of these things, and over the amount of parts that I've gone, it's hard to get an estimate of what I spent in total. But if I had to guess, I'd call it right around $1,000, give or take. Some of the parts that I've sold on this guitar that are no longer on it, I made a little money on, and some of the other ones I lost a few bucks on, and at the end of the day, that's to be expected. However, Comparing it to a guitar like that didn't cost much more, and I haven't had to change anything on it. That Momose was handmade in Japan, has a nitro finish on it, an extraordinary neck, incredible fretwork, hand wound pickups, full CTS, and a hard shell case. And yeah, at that point, if you're just thinking about things on paper, that's the no-brainer here as far as having the finished article and not having to worry about, modifying things and anything like that in case you're not comfortable or you just want something that's playable out of the box. But on the other hand, I have to admit, I've had a lot of fun tinkering this guitar. I've had a lot of fun with trying things out as far as different bridges, different vibratos, different necks, and learning what really works for me and learning more about how to work on these guitars. So to me, it was worth it, and maybe I'm partially swayed because this is a sentimental guitar that I was never going to sell anyways, but I could see the case for both. So I think it's safe to say I don't regret this project one bit. That's the end of today's video. If you enjoyed it, please consider hitting the like button, subscribing for more videos, or leave me a comment. Let me know what you think of how this guitar turned out and whether you would rather have something like this that you built totally on your own from parts or the finished article like the Momose for a comparable price where you don't have to worry about anything. You can just start playing guitar. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Take it easy.